Hi, good afternoon. My name's Leela Srinivasan, and I'm Director of Marketing for LinkedIn Talent Solutions. Thanks for sticking around. I know it's been a really long day, and their cocktails are coming very soon. But I feel quite passionate about this particular session. So I've been at LinkedIn now for 4.5 years, and I've spent that entire time obsessing over, some would say, how to celebrate and elevate all the great work that's going on in talent acquisition. And we spend a lot of time talking about best practices and tips and tricks and what are recruiters doing in the trenches to really build their brands and source proactively and so on and so forth. But we rarely, if ever, pause to talk about what makes a great leader, because behind every amazing talent acquisition story, there's some leader somewhere leading the charge and really thinking about how to shape that journey for the company. And so we dreamed up this panel as almost our first career pathing session at a Talent Connect conference. And the idea being that we invited 3 esteemed folks from the industry to just share some of the lessons that they've learned along the way. And we'd like to make it as conversational as possible. So please do be thinking of questions as you're sitting in your seats. Anything you hear from their individual stories, jot it down and make sure that, that you have a chance to come back to it when we get to that point. So just to kick things off, we have a tradition at LinkedIn where, as a new employee at our all-hands meeting, you're encouraged to share something that's not on your LinkedIn profile. So first of all, let's go to Karen Champion from Baxter. Karen, tell us something that's not on your LinkedIn profile.
Okay. It doesn't have to be exciting, right?
No, it doesn't have to be exciting.
I have one son who is 11 years of age, and I have a husband of 27 years.
Well played. Very good. Olivia Lambell next from Etc. Olivia, tell us something that's not on your LinkedIn profile.
Right. I was once an officer paratrooper in the French army.
Oh.
And I know I've got some chef pants today, but yeah, I was.
But there's no chefing in your prior work history, no?
No, it's just a passion. You know?
Okay, passion is important. Great, excellent. And last but not least, Kelly Sagat from LinkedIn. What's not on your profile?
How do I follow up being a paratrooper? And I'm not. I love to knit, and there's a few people in the audience who know me who are laughing very hard at that. And I'm very poor at knitting, and I've tried to teach myself to knit, and I've done maybe 1 square a year for the last 6 years. So I'm halfway through a blanket. I've just got to figure out how you sew it together.
You know, I've never met anyone who fesses up to being a poor knitter. I think that's a first. So, excellent. All sorts of secrets being revealed on stage here at LinkedIn Talent Connect. I guess what's not on my profile, I have 3 children under the age of 5, and I grew up in Scotland. So William Wallace, aka Braveheart, was actually a former pupil of my high school, because everything in Scotland is really old. So we were not in the same class. All right, so the way this is going to work is each of our panelists is going to take probably about 5 minutes or so to talk about their career journey, basically, from the ground up, basically, talking a little bit through the different positions that they've played over the years. And when they're done with that, then we'll go to a few prepared questions. But like I said, looking around the room to make sure that you also play an active part here. So let's start with Karen then. And I'm just going to build this so that we're not, it's too late in the day to get too complicated here, I think. So Karen, tell us a little bit about your career history and what you've been through.
Yeah, sure. So I commenced my career in the hospitality industry, working for the Park Royal chain of hotels. I was very fortunate to undergo a traineeship or a mentoringship very early in my career. And I worked in the majority of the divisions within the hotel. Looking back, it was a great way for me, I guess, to discover a passion of mine, and that is helping people and providing superior customer service that enhances the customer's experience. 10 years in hospitality, I certainly developed many what I classify as transferable skills. And just a couple, I guess, are really the appreciation and recognition of service as a differentiator. And for me, that is like the number one in terms of recruitment or talent acquisition. Managing multiple requests in often what is a very time pressured environment and I'm talking waiting tables with a line at the door, and you've got hungry customers. So I liken that to the multiple requisitions that we deal with now. Remaining calm under pressure, and certainly keeping that composure and maintaining that professional demeanour. And first and foremost, I suppose, is building those strong relationships with the customer, with my team, and with key stakeholders within the hotel chain. These transferable skills I didn't really understand at the time, but obviously now looking back, they really allowed me to enter into the recruitment industry, and that's what it was termed when I entered in 1993. And I've remained in this function now for 20 years, which it almost kills me to say, but I moved from a individual contributor, so I worked at select appointments, and I moved into a management role fairly quickly, I guess I could say. And whilst I actually still get a buzz out of filling that role, I actually get a lot more pleasure now in seeing my team deliver the results. So after...
Actually, Karen, I'm curious. When you say you moved fairly quickly into a management role, were you given training on how to be a manager, or how did that all play out?
I mean, this is 15 years ago, and it's certainly not like it is today. So look, I obviously had a direct manager, and I would rely on them and I would call on them. But in terms of formal training like you would have today, I would say that would be quite limited.
Got it.
So after 10 years in consultancy, I could actually, I anticipated, I suppose, the shift in these types of skills being very valuable moving in-house. So I was very fortunate to gain a role in-house with my biggest client, who at the time was Pfizer. Unfortunately, I was only there for 2 years because there was a takeover and my role was made redundant. However, I've never looked back because I secured a role at Baxter Healthcare. I was brought on to Baxter to set up the talent acquisition function for Australia and New Zealand. And after 5 years, I'm really proud to say that we saved the organisation $1 million every single year. I reduced the consultancy hires for director and above from 100% to 0%. We have reduced consultancy hires for manager and below from 40% to 1%. And we've increased our internal movement, which I'm particularly proud of, from 6% to 36%. So the ANZ team now saved the organisation about $3 million each year. Today, I manage the Talent Acquisition Centre of Excellence for Asia Pacific. I cover 14 countries, and I have over 100 employees in my network. I've got direct reports in Shanghai, India and Australia, and essentially part of my remit, I suppose, is to source all of the director and above roles, and then the manager and below my team source throughout the Asia Pacific region with that direct sourcing hub.
That's terrific. Well, it sounds like there's enough results in there for that to be a separate panel altogether. But in the interest of time, let's move on to Olivier now. And Olivier, tell us a little bit. I'm going to build this slide again, not to give away all your secrets here. Maybe except the last click. I'll leave that one if I can.
All right. I just wanted to make it a bit different and to have, the milestone in my life. So obviously it started with my parents in 1970. Please don't calculate my age. That'd be nice.
Sorry.
And I was a cute boy, if you can do that. I mean, obviously, I'm still cute, but older now. So I went to, I'm French originally, for the people who didn't notice. And straight away, it was about doing something different in my life. And I went to the UK. I went to the cheapest university in Europe, Bradford University. And that was 3 years of my best time as a student. I was a very good student. And didn't party too much.
Were checked pants in vogue then?
I beg your pardon?
Were checked pants in vogue then? Or?
Exactly, that was my chef inspiration at that time already. And then from that, I got the taste of challenge, because when I moved to England, I couldn't speak English. I still can't today. But and for me, it was, okay, well let's learn this language, but let's do something else as well, not only learning English, but let's do a university degree or something that can be useful in the future. None of the business or finance was useful afterwards. But then in France at the time, it was compulsory to do the national service. So I didn't want to sweep and mop the floor for 12 months. So I decided to go and I guess got an exam for an officer academic school, one of the most prestigious in France. It's a Saint-Cyr school, and I had fun. And it's where really I learned the word leadership, the word support, and inspiration. And that will follow on, I guess, in my career. So I stayed there for a bit more than a year, and I was a Red Beret, was proud to take off with planes and never land with them. And I didn't want to do something else, so I tried to stay as a Red Beret, but it wasn't possible, so I had to leave the army, unfortunately, for them. And I met someone. That was my other challenge, who was an Australian lady. And I followed her here in Australia, and I decided to build my career. I want to just come back to the sense here and my army times. That's where I started in what we didn't call at the time, we called it recruitment as well. But so I was recruiting paratroopers. And that was quite a challenge, because nobody wanted to jump from planes, and thought that was crazy just to do that. So
I would love to have heard your spin on that one, but anyway.
Well, they thought I had a bit of talent to convince people that it was fun. You would travel the world, which wasn't true. You will get on a plane, and it's fun. You've got parachute, and it's all safety. And yeah, so that's where I started my recruitment career. Then went to Australia, worked for the Manpower Group for 3 years. Had lots of fun as well. But I wanted more, always the challenge. I said, well, okay, I'm a recruitment consultant. I do IT, technology is fun, but what's next? So I always wanted to go to an organization which would structure me a bit and teach me about managing accounts and managing expectation with clients, building a team, building expectations. So I moved to Accenture. At the time, they had a recruitment arm called Diversity, and that was the premise of I guess, the RPO model at the time. And then I wanted more again, so I wanted to do some project. I wanted to do some search work. I wanted to do some executive search. So that's what I've done. Then moved back to Paris with my wife at the time, and worked for a global consulting firm called Mercury Irvine. That was a change, and the great things about Mercury Irvine, a Swedish company, is to teach you around how to influence people in a way that it's not necessarily about command and control, but it's what a guy called Dan Pink called moving people from one point A to one point B. How do you influence them? And the Swedish are very clever. That's what I call the IKEA system. So they make you like a superstar. So you build, you buy an IKEA stuff. Your kids are happy because you put that together, and they say, "Oh, Papa, you're cool. You put the team together." But it's already made up, so they know how you're going to start, and they know where it's going to finish. And that's what I learned, how to influence people in a way that at the end of the day, they will do what you thought and the end result. Then I had an opportunity to work for a startup. A friend of mine started this company and asked me to come and consult around how do we build a team, but how do we put a structure around HR. So I'm still a non-executive director of this company called SSI Pacific. And at the same time I was working at SSI, I had a conversation with the CEO of Etc., a startup company with 18 people at the time. And the CEO had a vision to build this company into a bigger structure. And it's about, I don't really know how to do it. And I need someone who will focus on the people. So I joined Etc. The model was very different. The thought around structure in the company was to challenge the traditional model. No command and control, no managers, no boss, no reporting structure, but a supporting structure. And it referred me to the time I was in the army, where it's all about influencing. It's all about giving people enough self-sufficient for them to decide of their future. And it's what I learned in 4 years' journey with Etc., is how to build a platform for people to pick and choose what they want. I forgot one point really important, is I've got 2 kids as well. They're there. So that was in the meantime. And Etc. has been a tremendous journey, bringing a startup from 18 people to 120 people, from $6 million to $16 million company. And it's where all of you here think that, if you are in the people business, well, you're doing something extremely important when you build an organization. And I think all along, it was for me to learn around how do I support people best? How do I not tell them what to do? What are the techniques around that? And it was what I call the Jedi journey, where how do I learn about people so deeply, about consciousness, about how to support them in a way that they will feel elevated in some way. So I went to the Institute of Leadership and Coaching in Sydney, and there are 3 levels. And as of yesterday, I'm certified level 3, so Jedi, obviously, not Master Jedi, but any Jedi has got a master, so I've got a master there. Enough of my stuff. So
fantastic. We couldn't wait to hear how we actually got to the Jedi part, so that's great. Excellent. So one more story to go, and that's with Kelly. Kelly, tell us a little bit about your career trajectory here.
Certainly. This is actually my second iteration of my career pathing. I had a career before I went into the talent space. At the time, way back when I did start in recruitment, I had just finished university. I'd gone back to university and did a postgraduate degree in law and communications, and I was a single parent with 2 children, and didn't really have the resources or the means to be able to go and do my clerkship and work as a law clerk for not a lot of money and 100 hours a week. So I wanted to think about what could I bring into play that took out my previous experience, which was in PR and marketing, and what could I work in a sort of family-friendly environment that utilised my skill set, and had an opportunity to move into recruitment. My first recruitment role was actually with Morgan & Banks, which then was TMP, which is now Hudson, which is why it's there, Hudson, but it was actually Morgan & Banks when I started. I worked in the professional services area there, marketing and PR, had a small team there. I then moved into my first corporate role, which was with Suncorp, which was actually been most of my talent journey, and had a fairly non-traditional journey through to the role that I have today, which is probably also not as traditional in terms of the movement. At Suncorp, I worked in people and performance for the bulk of the time I was there, but I had some really interesting roles, and I was actually really lucky to be part of the transformation of that business. The first role that I had was a strategic sourcing advisor, which was a newly created role, which was actually created by me and I put myself into, which
well
was,
played.
yeah. You know, I often get that opportunity. I thought, I really like the sound of something like this, and I think I'd be really good at it. In that role, I had employer branding and EVP, and that was my sole responsibility, and managed talent acquisition at the same time. So I was ensuring that everything that went out to market around the candidate strategy was best placed for our brand. And it was quite a groundbreaking thing back then, and we're talking early 2000s. We weren't really talking about employer brand or EVP at that point. That was really something, employer value proposition. Do we really care about it? Not really sure, but isn't that something marketing should be doing? Worked very, very closely with marketing in those couple of years, and it was a really great role. It was really interesting, and probably the first role that understood where you could start to marry HR and marketing and the concept of that consumer strategy and that candidate strategy and how you'd marry the two. It's no different in terms of retaining your candidates as it retaining a customer. So how do we talk to those two groups of people? From there, I moved into organisational design, which allowed me to, be more strategic and design elements of that. Ran a couple of major transformation projects for the Suncorp Group from a people perspective, and then was asked to join the marketing team and took my, that whole concept of the people strategy back out there into that consumer space. I looked after customer insights and customer satisfaction for the commercial arm of the bank, which incorporated wealth management, the private bank, business banking, agribusiness, and the small retail branches that sold out to small businesses. That was a whole learning journey, customer insights. Didn't really peg myself as someone who was great with numbers. Soon learnt that I had to be. Very data driven, but gave me such a foundation that I've been able to take forward. I moved to Sydney and then I moved away from Suncorp and I took my first role that was purely back in talent after that and did the scope and implementation for a talent function for Staples through Future Steps, so from an RPO perspective. So built that from the ground up and quickly found that my skill set probably lies in that building and the fixing of things. That's what I like to do. I like the change process when things start to bottom out and we start to get into that maintaining phase. I'm not very good at it, but I've been managed to surround myself with people who are awesome at it. So after 3 years with Future Step, I'd got to that point where the solution I had started was at that maintenance point, left it in some very good hands, and moved to Singtel Optus, where I was the Associate Director in HR. My remit at Optus was employer branding, EVP, global mobility and talent acquisition. Had great fun at Optus. It was a really great journey for me. 3 years there, and I got an in-mail from LinkedIn and thought that was really interesting. And LinkedIn certainly had always been on my list of organisations. I'd lost a couple of my people to LinkedIn over the years from Future Step and was kind of jealous. And then when LinkedIn reached out to me, I was really interested to understand why I liked the opportunity at LinkedIn. It kind of took me out of the pure talent space and back into a business and commercial opportunity, but still utilising those skills in talent, in HR, and also in that marketing space. We truly understand how we get your brand to market and how talent responds to that. And I've been there 8 months.
Which is a very long time at LinkedIn, by the way.
It's like
You're new for about 2 weeks. We've been growing so fast. Great, excellent. So great stories from all three of you. I have a couple of questions to ask. There are mics somewhere in the back that will appear. So please, if at any point you have a question, just stick up your hand and folks will come over. So I guess first, I would think about, when we think about how we learn, I think mistakes are always great learning opportunities and also actually quite fascinating for the folks who didn't make the mistakes. So my question for you is, could you share one mistake that you've made in your career path that has helped you learn and grow and take it to the next level? Karen, you're nodding, so you want to start?
Oh, there's many. And I hope you can still hear me because my mic fell off and it's okay. I'll put it back on.
Do you want to use mine?
No, it's okay. Look, I mean, there's obviously been a number, but I've seen them as opportunities. But there's no one defining moment where I feel that I've totally failed. But the thing that I have to remain conscious of, because I don't do it naturally, is I take a lot of things at face value. I don't always ask,
the right questions in a situation, and I don't always understand who are the influencers. So, and this is, obviously, over the last 20 years, I think I've become a lot better at that. And our world is constantly changing. We work for a global organisation. We've just announced a split in the organisation. So we're dealing with a lot of change. We're dealing with a lot of ambiguity. You've got to really be and stay ahead of the game. So, my lesson, which I'm continually learning and I continually challenge myself, is to really take my head out of the ground. I'm always so focused on, what I'm doing, to look up and ask all the right questions, understand who the influencers are, and, build relationships with those people who are going to be able to influence situations.
Great, thanks for sharing. Olivier, tell us about your mistake.
No mistake.
No mistakes. What mistakes have you seen others make then?
It's no mistake. Okay, I make mistakes all the time, so it's just a question, which one do you want to know? I think one for years that was following me is my impatience. I was because I'm a Jedi now, so I learned to be patient, and it's really to get things when I've got something in mind, it needs to happen. And when people don't understand that around me, it kind of annoy me a bit. But and being in the people business, you can't be annoyed at people all the time. Otherwise, you're in the wrong business. So it's really learning that everyone are not on the same journey. They probably understand things very differently, and really put yourself in someone else's shoe and say, oh, okay. What do you mean by that? So it's been, really slow down, being there for people, listening to them, being mindful.
Okay.
Kelly, what about you?
Mine's not too dissimilar to yours, Olivier.
Why do you copy?
Because I don't make any mistakes either. Yeah. I'm a little bit the same, and I didn't call it impatience, I called it passionate. I get kind of passionate and enthusiastic about things, and I start to run really fast, and I kind of turn around and there's no one there. And I forget that perhaps people haven't got it as quickly as maybe I have, or I haven't explained it as succinctly as I should have, because I just kind of figured you got it, because I did. And I've kind of learnt that, people learn a little differently, or take a little bit more time to understand or come to the party. And that used to bother me. That used to think, oh my, right, let me explain it to you slowly. But it's taking into consideration that some people learn quickly, some people learn more slowly, some people are just not going to agree with you and take a night to sleep on it before they come with you. So, not to dilute that passion and enthusiasm, but to make sure that everyone is equally as passionate and enthusiastic for the same reasons.
Sure. One other thing that we talked about before was just how managing people takes an entirely different set of skills. And earlier I asked the question of, how, Karen, how much training did you get becoming a new manager? Because I think sometimes that's overlooked, and promoting the best performers isn't necessarily the path to success, as we all know. So I was curious to hear, what are the most important skills that you've developed when you moved from individual contributor to manager, and then even manager of managers in some cases?
Sure.
I think the most important thing for me is really taking the time to get to know my team, and having those one-on-one catch-ups and committing to those catch-ups, because we are always so busy. There's always something that we feel is more important or better to do. So if someone's late for one of my catch-ups, my one-on-ones, I get really upset about it. Because it's not me wanting to impart my knowledge or sharing with them. I'm more interested in what they want to share with me. And I treat it as a real partnership. If I ever am taking on new people, and it's really hard to do when they're sitting in India or Shanghai, So that's where that commitment is. You know, you've got to really have it. But I always ask them, what do you want from me? And I haven't had that many managers who have asked me that question. So probably for me, that is the most important thing. I will always ask my team members what they want from me, and I treat it as a real partnership.
That's great. So it's almost more like a mindset shift than a necessarily skill set per se.
Absolutely.
That's interesting. How about you, Kelly? What new muscles are you flexing as a people manager compared to when you were an individual contributor?
Yeah, look, I think for me, I like innovation and I like people to be innovative, and certainly I think when I was managing individual contributors, it was a little bit more hands-on in terms of, I think this is a great idea, what do you think, how do we go down this pathway together? And when I moved to managing managers, it was that step back to go, okay, how can you be innovative? And having the confidence in your people to be able to let them go and make mistakes, and be okay with those mistakes and hope that they learn from those mistakes. Because I think when you are just managing individual contributors, you can have a lot more control over how the outcome turns out, and manoeuvre that so that the mistakes don't look so bad. When you're managing managers, you've got to let them be free. You've got to let them go and make the mistakes they need to go with. And sometimes that's really hard, and that can be a bit of a dent to your own ego. And you know that if you'd just done it yourself or told them what to do, it would have been a whole different story. But you can't tell everybody that, or the manager that. So it's allowing them.
So if you're watching the recording, by the way, she didn't just say that. It's not how she thinks at all.
I've got two old staff members in the front row. They're going, yep. But it's allowing them to be innovative, and I really enjoy that part of it. I actually really enjoy saying, you know what, go ahead, let's see what happens, and we can always fix it. It doesn't matter, we can always fix it. And I think growing with that confidence with your people, and working towards enabling your people to have that confidence to go away and do stuff and to create and innovate.
Terrific. And then Olivier, what different skills have you amassed along the way?
It's funny, the term and the word manager, and I'm not a great believer in managing people. You manage expectations, you manage situations, but I think people can manage themselves. And who are you to manage them? I don't want to manage people. I want to inspire people. I want to lead people. And that's what I learned in my short journey, because remember, I'm still young. Thank you. It's all about how can you inspire someone to do something without telling him what to do, without command and control. And I'm a great believer that the future is there. If you look at companies like Zappos, big organization, who are reinventing the way of leading people and how to get results in team orientation. Look at the new way, the professional army. It's about, this is, the vision. You guys do it the way you want it. And that's pretty much, what I've done at Etc. So the way you do it, it's not I don't care, but you do it your way, because this is, I'm confident you will get there, but this is where we need to go. Mm-hmm. Food for thoughts. I know in big organization, big structure, big hierarchy, it's kind of a challenging thoughts, but, flip the coin, go back home, go back to your manager and say, I don't want to be managed. And you'll see what happens. Give me a call.
If there's a revolution in the world of talent acquisition next week, it started right here.
But it is in a way, and I'm sure at LinkedIn, if you think about it, and the future generation, look at your kids. We are here to provide a platform. We're not here to manage people. Kids are gonna come with more intelligence than we are. They get everything straight away. And they will want everything straight away. If you can't provide that, you can't tell them, well, you are going to do that. No, they will leave. So how can you make sure that you influence, the people you work with and provide them with the best support for them to develop and be the best they can?
That's fair. I have one more question to ask, which is around executive sponsorship. And I feel no disrespect to the guys in the room, but I think especially for women, sometimes it's quite hard to succeed as you rise in your career without some sort of either executive sponsor or mentor. there to really help you take it to the next level. So curious to hear what role executive sponsors have played in your ascendancy, and how did you find them? How did you find the right match from the senior ranks to help you on your way? Karen?
I've still got the same mentor that I had probably 15 years ago. So I absolutely endorse having a mentor. And she doesn't call me that often now, but, and I don't call her that often, we don't work together, but, the foundation of the relationship that we built, you can't deny that. And she's been instrumental in terms of managing, my career in partnership with me.
Where did you so you worked with her at some point in the past, yeah?
Yes, at Hudson.
Hudson, okay.
Which was Morgan and Banks, and so I went on that journey as well. But I've also had probably 2 or 3 since then, and those people have come into my life and out of my life. So, I also encourage the free-flowing nature of sponsorships as well. Because it depends on what you need at that particular time. So I absolutely endorse, and it's been invaluable in terms of me progressing in my career.
And how did you meet, or how did you come together in the first place?
It was actually through a mentor program at work, and they did a great job in actually matching us. It was like a perfect match. Because the other ones that I've had along the way, certainly the relationship has been very fruitful. However, they haven't always lasted the distance. So, this particular program was, a corporate program, and it was that perfect match scenario. So, I feel very fortunate to have that still.
Great. No stories, Kelly?
Yeah, look, I think I've certainly found it difficult over the years to find that match. I think, there's for mentors, there needs to be the match in both that professional and personal element. So, for me, there needs to be a match in values as much as there does in terms of somebody who can take you through those professional steps. So I've managed to find that in probably a network of people that you have that different mentor for what you're looking for at a particular time. And I stay in quite close contact with those mentors. They're both men and women. And it's for me, it's been invaluable to have that network, because you can kind of get a couple of different sides if you're a bit stuck. But certainly found it difficult initially to get that one perfect match. So for me, it's been that network of individuals that I've come across throughout all my time that have really helped me in particular positions.
Okay, great. And Olivia, have you had the benefit of a mentor or a sponsor?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to have. And it started with the army. I had an amazing guy who really led by example, and everything he was asking us to do, he was doing it with us. So that for me, that set a standard. But then I think the sponsor, I feed myself with everyone I meet and meaningful conversation I have at work or outside of work, and that really helped me in my journey. Yeah.
Great. Well, we've judged time horribly. We still have a minute or 2 left for questions. Any takers in the audience? Burning career questions. Yes, one at the front.
Hi. Thank you for sharing your stories. I guess what I find the biggest challenge about being a manager. The biggest challenge I find about being a manager is, I guess, balancing the operational versus strategic responsibilities that you have. Can you share how you've managed to balance those?
Yeah, I can. That's an interesting question. I guess you have to find your sweet spot and really what you excel at and what's your strengths. And in your weakness, find someone who has the strengths in your weakness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's really important to team up and really important to be honest. And it's what I call assertive humility. So it's in the middle of, you know yourself. And you know what you're not good at. And I team up at etc. with a fantastic person who really completes what I'm not. That makes sense?
Yeah, look, I'd have to agree with Olivier. I'm not very operational. That's the one thing I know very quickly. I'm not actually very good at the doing. I have great ideas and I can see where the implementation needs to be. I can understand what the implementation needs to do, but the actual getting it done for me and look, I've managed managers for a really long time. And I think that when you know what you're good at, when you understand that that's not my strength, and you can hand on heart say that, you hire those people around you. But it also gives you the opportunity to find people in your team who are willing to step up and be given an opportunity for extra stretch. And that then takes your team to a whole other place because you've got lots of people doing different things that they might not have ordinarily done if you'd stuck to doing both.
And I guess the marketing answer to that, because I started at LinkedIn as a one-person shop and now I have a team of 14, is just thinking as you grow, where can you add the value most? And so for me, bringing in somebody who was really strong in content creation, even though I love content creation, I had to find the right balance of how, I'm going to pull back and stay just connected enough so that I feel comfortable with what we're doing, but I'm going to let somebody else do that because we need to build a strategy in this area. So it's really about trying to think where can you add the most value across the team. We're a minute over. I'd like to thank our panelists for sharing their stories, and please come up and ask questions over cocktails.
Thank you.